Good afternoon, class. I say good afternoon because it's the afternoon my time. I'm in Dothan, Alabama, so I'm in the Central Time Zone. I'd like to welcome you to my video discussion. Today I have chosen to read John Winthrop's City of Women by Laurel Thatcher Ulrich. I chose this article purposely because I don't have the same worldview, and I don't come at things the same way that she would. See, she is a very famous Harvard professor, and now she's an emerita because she's retired. She's a Pulitzer Prize-winning author. Her specialties are early American history and the study of women. So both of her study areas coalesce here in our study. Though it does leave me with the question asking myself, is she reading too much of feminism into the stories that John Winthrop's telling us in his book? We'll get to that later, but we do know that her purpose of the article is dispelling the rumors, or so-called myths, as I would call them, as to how the Puritans saw women or how they treated them. She needs to dispel this rumor that it's a very patriarchal society and that women were viewed much in the same way as Anne Hutchinson was viewed. It's very wrong, and because she had her viewpoints, she's wrong. She decides instead to say that women did have a very big role to play in the society, more so than I would have thought. So she's saying that they did have a role. Women in the upper class would use their influence, and they would be able to teach others. And not only that, women would be allowed to use their gifts in order to teach one another, and they'd have their other roles in society as well. So another thing I wanted to come at is talking about the biblical worldview principles. There's one in particular that I'm thinking about in this class. So we're saying it's the commitment to objectivity and honesty is essential to historical investigation. You're thinking, why did I include that? It's because this article goes against all of my preconceived ideas of how Puritan society functioned and how women were treated. So as I said before, I believe that they didn't have as much of a role as they did. And she's looking into John Winthrop and the stories he's collected over the time, and he's saying that there are a lot of stories about women, so we know that they functioned in the society and they were important. Because if they weren't important, Winthrop would never have mentioned them. So, with objectivity, had I kept my same ideas that I had before I came to this study, I would have been closed off to what she is saying about how important women are in that society. And now I'm left wondering, after this, because of her role as a feminist, I'm wondering, did she read too much of her worldview and her perspective into the study? Which is entirely possible, seeing as she's a feminist, but I would like to give her the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to say this article has corrected my worldview. So I now know that women had a large part to play, and they were very important. They weren't second-class citizens. So I can still say that this was an important article, so it's changing my view of how women in society were. But it leaves me still with the lingering question of, is that really what it was? I'll have to do more research into finding out how women really were perceived rather than her perception of this idea. Because it goes against most of what I'd learned already about the Puritans. But that doesn't mean she's wrong. It just means I need to be able to go back and say, I could be wrong about this idea or the situation. So I would like to leave you with those thoughts. You want to think about it. Maybe ask those questions of yourself. Am I objective? Am I looking at it, or am I looking at it through my lens of my worldview and my perspective and my bias? That's one of the things we should take away. Thinking about how we read the articles, how we view them, and what we're thinking about. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to what I had to say today. I am very much looking forward to dealing with the rest of your videos and watching them, because I know each one of you has a different perspective than I have, and I'm looking forward to learning from that. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on our next video.